Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Superwoman on our new digital TV format F15. My name is Kari Aina Eik from the German language edition of Forbes, and every Wednesday and Thursday we're talking here on this broadcast to experienced leaders, founders, and executives who share lessons learned to increase diversity in their companies in order to be more productive or more efficient, but certainly happier. Today, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Kari Aina Eik, Secretary General OiER. It's the Organization for International Economic Relations, and the leader of the UN United for Smart and Sustainable Cities Implementation Program, as well as founder of the global network Women-Led 2030. We will talk about what it takes to make a city smart and sustainable, and how it is to lead a life and a job life as a global leader and citizen. Welcome, Kari. Thank you very much for joining us. How are you doing and where are you at the moment?
Thank you very much, Heidi. It's a pleasure to join you. I am actually in Vienna.
Oh.
As you know, I live half Norway, half Vienna, but now in the COVID time, I've been here with my children in Vienna.
Oh, okay. Please just start with the question. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how your way and your career led you to the Organization for International Economic Relations and the United Cities Program.
Yeah, I was, I'm from Norway originally, and I came to Vienna for 23 years ago, so it's quite some time. And I came because of a job in the United Nations. So I've been here in Vienna in the UN for most of my career. And then I also saw that, I've been having almost 20 years of background in the public sector. And I thought maybe I should also find out a little bit more on the private side, what's going on in the private sector. Because what we see when we work on development projects within the United Nations and of course other international agencies is that we need to work hand in hand cross sectors. We need to work with the private sector or we will never get to the 2030 goals, for example, right? So then I was thinking, okay, I need to join some group that is also aligned with development. And the Organization for International Economic Relations has been around for 70 years and was established in Vienna in 1947 and has always had very tight bonds with the United Nations. And also it's been a big platform of companies that is working towards, of course, international cooperation and, trade, these type of things. But I was able to go in to take over the platform or to lead the platform and bring it more into a development era, so to say. So that's what we did. I took over the platform and then we started the city programs because I thought, okay, most private sector are related to the cities, right? I mean, lots technology, all of these type of things. So we started in 2014, just after I went to OiER, and we started the first program, United Smart City, that many people know, and that was also then linked to the UN agencies. And that's how we started with the city programs. Mm-hmm. And it's been developing through the years, and now I'm leading also this UN program together with its 17 UN agencies that is part of this initiative. So it's quite a big initiative. But I still have the mother organization is OiER. So we are having a tight and really walking the talk in how we link the private and the public sector to show concrete projects in cities.
What are the current projects you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, I'm very pleased because I'm working now very much in Norway because we had the first city joining the program in Norway for a little bit more than a year ago. Mm-hmm. And after that, it's been spreading around in Norway. So currently we have cities from all over Norway there. And we're actually able to show not just that we evaluate cities and see where they stand, are they so smart and sustainable as they think they are, mm-hmm. but we're actually able to go much deeper to really bring projects to the ground now in terms of lots of areas in smart city, but also sustainability, right? Because the sustainable development goals is something that all cities are very concerned about. And how does these 17 goals actually, how can we make it concrete? How can we understand what the sustainable development goals really mean in terms of running a city and how we work and prioritize? And that's what it's all about. It's not just about, the data we collect or these things, but it's can we actually make a change? Can we do things that's moving all the cities into the right direction.
May I take like a step back and ask you what it takes or what it means to be smart and sustainable as a city? What are the things you have to have before you can join forces together with you and within the program?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people think that smart city, that's if you put up a sensor, right? No, it's not. And it's not one thing. You know, the smartness and of course the sustainability lies in the connection of how we integrate all these new technologies, how we work with digitalization, but how we look at the whole aspects of city development. So the economy aspects, the environmental aspects, as we know all the challenges facing us with environment, but also the society. So what we have done is that we have developed an evaluation method where we're looking at 92 areas, so cross-cutting economy, environment, and society, and lots of different points under here. And I say, if you are scoring very high on this evaluation with all these 92 areas, we will say you are a smart and sustainable city. But it could never be just one city run, very high and good on digitalization. I mean, it needs to look at all aspects. And I say, I will never use the term smart city without sustainable city, because if we're not thinking of our future generations, we're absolutely not working smart or sustainable, right? So and this method now, it's very simple, right? I mean, it sounds maybe complicated to look into all this data of all these sectors, but it is something that it's actually a tool now that is the same used for cities all around the world, which makes it very interesting because you can compare and see and you speak the same language. And also the private sector really like this method. And we've been working with the private sector to decide which indicators should we evaluate so you can see where you're needed. Because we need a private sector who can deliver on needs in the cities today. Mm-hmm. It's enough challenges if we need to search for the solution. But that's why the link between needs and solutions needs to be much tighter, and it needs to be shown by very concrete examples.
Mm-hmm. And you're working with cities all over the globe, right?
Yes.
Yes. Are there any topics or focuses that are different from continent to continent maybe, or is there a general topic you are focusing on at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's the evaluation is the same for everyone, but of course, and there is some area that is the same for everyone. I think every city on the planet has an issue with waste management, for example, right? It doesn't matter where you are, right? And I think also in terms of course, there is, in health infrastructure. I mean, now with COVID-19, there's a lot, been a lot of issues coming around that topic. But of course, in developing countries, there is a bigger need for health infrastructure than in developed countries and cities. But, there is many issues like how we deal with our resources. How do we deal with our water? This is the same all over the planet. And it was very interesting because we evaluated Norwegian cities and we saw that in the pipes, when you collect the water and until it's cleaned and getting in your tap, they lost 40% in the pipes. So 40% is leaking. And this is, you think we have enough water in Norway, right? Because it's raining all the time, right? But it's not economic, right? Because you're losing 40%, you're cleaning it and losing it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's and then you can be in another city in the developing countries where you're not losing any water because the water is so scarce, right? So they have a much better system. So you can say Norwegian city can really learn from cities in Spain, right? How they deal with the mm-hmm. piping and all these type of things. So there's a lot of things you are surprised to see, right? And I think it was a surprise to also some of the Norwegian cities to see, okay, we have a problem here, right? We don't talk so much about it, but now actually we need to do something with this, right? Mm-hmm. So this is the issues that comes up through this evaluation that we can then work very concrete on, lifting them up and say, okay, we have a problem, we need to solve it together. How do we do it?
Mm-hmm. But can you generally spoken apply if you want to, or is it important to be bespoken by you?
No, I mean, this can be applied to anyone. Anyone can test their city in terms of this method. It's on the ITU website. So you have the whole method on the website there, the old documents, everything. Every city can use it. So it's an open tool. So it's only, we're verifying the data because we say we want to be sure that the data we collect is, we need to verify it to see that it's accurate and all these things. And then we are involved, but it's open to any city to use it. And more cities are checking now out and see, okay, where do we stand, and then supporting the policies and, how they move forward based on this evaluation, which I think is fantastic. So we used, the UN used 3 years to develop this tool. And I see now it's really picking up, but I think it was really work that the UN is taking a lead also on the city and municipalities, because this is where the difference will be in terms of making the SDGs or not.
Do you remember how many cities already have applied?
I think around 150 cities have done the evaluation so far, but now we're picking up quickly in some countries, like in Norway. So yeah, probably around 200 soon. So it is spreading.
A lot to do. You just mentioned it before. The lockdown, the COVID-19 situation all over the world, did it change something in your way of working, especially, but also did it change something in your mind, in your mindset?
Yeah, I think, as I was telling you, I'm speaking about sustainability, but then I'm not living a sustainable life, right, on my own, because it's been, as you see, I've been around in all these cities and traveling a lot, and it's, not very healthy to live the way I've been doing. So then I came back here, I think 1st of March. So I've been in Vienna since. And it really, to see how much you can actually do by not traveling, just using, like we do now, the digital means that we have, right? So, and it also gave me really time to rethink, because it's been a little bit arms and legs and all over the place, and trying to, follow up on all the things and all the cities and all the things we're doing. So it's given me really time to rethink and refocus and try to be much more specific in terms how we do it. Yeah. And what I really understood is that this cannot be centralized. If we're going to implement the SDGs globally, we need to decentralize. We need to have people all around here working in the same direction, but it cannot be, I or someone else running around and trying to do it, right? So it's been, it's a terrible tragedy for all the people affected, but I think, a lot of people needed a little bit the reset and to rethink how we deal with that. And I hope I will never go back on this hamster wheel all around the world all the time. But of course, we shouldn't lose that we need to meet each other, because that's important. But it's much, much more we can do digitally, and also how we work.
Did there also, have there been some changes also in the data that you've collected during this COVID-19 lockdown? Or?
We have not changed the data set yet, or what we're looking at, but it's very interesting because we had one indicator, and that was local food supply. And how much of the percentage of the food the city gets is actually locally grown. And we did this with 10 cities in Norway, and we don't have data on this, because everything's is importing, and the trade is going. And then COVID came, and then we see, okay, maybe this is not so, maybe we need this, right? We need to know how much locally grown food we are able to in a crisis if we cannot trade or send things around. So I think it's a wake-up call to see. We need to look at some other issues, maybe especially in terms of food supply. All over the world. And then also, of course, as you said, in terms of health infrastructure, because it's really shown the challenges of the health system also in a lot of, all the countries around the world, actually. So I think we will need to do more on disaster or preventive measures, so that we need to look into more, how can we, prepare ourselves better. So I'm quite sure there will be some additional indicators or some additional things we need to look into, at least in terms of projects now going forward with the cities.
But many things that you are connected with, also with founding your women's network, Women Led 2030, is connected to your former lifestyle, like traveling around and meeting a lot of interesting people, and especially women. so that's also why you founded Women-Led 2030. It's not so long ago, it's about a year ago, and it's a very special network because it's a global one. Would you please just tell us a few words about it and how you set it up and how it was founded?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of networks out there. And I mean, you are also fantastic in doing this through Forbes and all other means. But what I wanted to do is that and the idea came because I had a friend who was leading a UN cancer program, and also in developing countries. So, and she was always looking for support, right? And resources, and nobody knows about this challenge that there is such a low, in terms of medical infrastructure on cancer treatment in developing countries. So the idea came out of this specific project that how can I help her, right? And then I started to think, okay, but I have so many amazing women around the world that I've been working with for the last 23 years through the whole UN, and I think, maybe we can do something more, very specifically. So not just a network to talk, we want to do something, but actually a network where we can practically look into each other's projects and see how we can use our resources better, because we have resources, we have time to do more than we do if we're specific on what we do. So that was the idea of the Women-Led Network, to make something, of course, put the 2030, so put the 10-year goal on it, and do something very practical. And what I found out now, because this is a year ago that we started, and suddenly women from all over the world started to write me and say, we want to be part of this network. And what I've seen now is that it's much more effective. We link it to the city programs, because there we have the infrastructure already. We are now also setting up a platform called United City Digital. So where we are going to use this in terms of learning and building the competence around the teams. And we also link Women-Led now into United Cities. And we are working on different projects with with different of the members of the group. And it's very different, but I see with just very little focus together, we can do much more, because we have the means. It's just how do we put them into play, right? That's the most important thing. So I think we will hear a lot about Women-Led in the future together with the United Cities going forward.
Could you just tell us one small example how you worked on that? Because is it like, I mean, the women that you're working with are very powerful ones. So that you forgot to mention, you always say it's my friends, and are there like certain projects for that you are, I don't know, searching for money or for sponsors, or how do you make it work?
Yeah, it's both. I mean, it's of course now the last year we've been using time to structure the network more. And what I also found is that we need national networks, and that feeding then into more a global network, because the action is actually happening locally. Also, what the women leaders are concerned about, right? So, for example, in Norway now we are also looking into those concrete projects of we have now 14 cities that we're working in Norway. And looking with these women leaders also how we can enforce those projects. And we have projects from looking into infrastructure until citizen engagement projects, right? Academic projects, everything, the whole range developed to cities. So it's a way to enforce those projects using the means of the women leaders that we have in the network. So it's very different from educational projects to, it's really up to the leader in the program what they want to get known about. We can put it onto our media platforms, right, just to raise the awareness on projects that the women leaders have. We can also look into very concrete, as you say, resource or funding possibilities for those projects. So it's just really sticking our heads together more or less to develop those projects further.
But one last question on this, but it's still a private initiative.
Yes,
until it's implemented in the program.
Yes, that's what because I saw that's the most logical way to do it, because I'm also a person, I would love to run Women-Led 100% and just do that, but I see if you can bring this together in a good way now, make it so practical, and I think it's not a network focused on gender, it's just a focus on bringing those amazing leaders that I have around me and that we have around us, right? to do a little bit more together. And the United Cities is really set up as a co-creative project where, you know, we need all to do this together. And I think, you know, looking at the network we have and do more out of it, that's really the whole thing. So, but we'll see. Maybe this will move out from a private initiative, I hope, into a more structured way of doing that. But so far, I think, I just want to honor all the women I have around me who's been supporting me through the years to set up these United Cities programs. And nobody can do this thing alone, right?
Mm. Kari, what are your plans for the rest of the year? I mean,
the plans are.
Are you prepared? Are you going back to Norway? How will you do?
Yeah, the plan is, because we have still a quarantine in Norway. You know, Norway was really locked down, and it's been you know, not possible to travel, or you have to be in quarantine for 2 weeks. On 15th of July, they are lifting the quarantine. So probably on the 16th or 17th, I'm going back to Norway. And then I'm planning to stay there for a few weeks and, you know, work with the cities in Norway and the team up there, because we have a good team in Norway now. And then, be back and forward, Vienna and Norway in the coming months. And that's the plan.
But we very much hope to see you on October 22nd, where we'll have the Women's Summit in Vienna then.
I would love to. Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you, Kari, for your time and your insights and your input. Thank you for your interesting news. Thank you to our viewers for tuning in and for watching. If you don't want to miss out any of our broadcasts, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you, Kari, again. Thank you to our viewers. Stay healthy. Bye-bye and see you soon. Bye, Kari.
Bye-bye. Thank you.